Today I'm going to discuss about how to find the frequency of each element in a tuple in Python. Now, this particular topic is very unique in Python because the method by which you find the frequency of each element in a Python is very unique and very easy compared to any other languages. Now, tuple, let me talk about certain basics about this type of data structures. So, tuple in Python is a immutable object where we have a sequence of data. That means we have a set of data where the data may be heterogeneous. That means any type of data, irrespective of whether it is a number, it's a string, it's a floating point number or an integer, it doesn't matter. We may have a set of elements or values enclosed within first bracket. That is the rounded brackets. So you can see I've declared a tuple named T, which is initialized with the following values. For simplicity, I have taken only integers. The purpose of this particular topic is to find the frequency of each element. That is, what I want is, I want to write a code where I'm going to find the frequency of each number out here. So, 1, which is the first element of inside the tuple, the frequency of that is obviously 2 because it is occurring twice. And similarly 2, which is the next element inside the tuple, whose frequency is 3. It's occurring thrice, 1, 2 and 3. And 3 is another element in the tuple whose frequency is once again 2 because it is occurring twice. This is the output which I want. Now, before getting into the details of how to perform this particular program, few basics which I want to clarify first before getting into the program. Now remember, each of the elements or values inside a tuple are referred by its index. Index, you can imagine it to be its position. That is, the first index is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, 6. So tuple is basically a subscripted variable, you can imagine, because each element is represented by its index or subscript. So these are also called subscript. So the index may be also called subscript. So when I refer to each of this index, I will be able to refer to the element corresponding to that index. This is done using this particular technique. Suppose if I print T of 2. T of 2. Now you see, this actually means from the tuple T, the element at index 2. So the element at index 2 is 3. So obviously it's going to display 3. If I want to display the sixth element, that is 1. So what do I write? Obviously print T, and within third bracket, that is square bracket, I'm going to write 6, which is going to give me 1. So this is the basic approach of accessing individual elements using the index or subscript. Next, I would like to discuss about extracting a group of data. If you want to extract a group of data or group of elements or values from a tuple, we can use the slice operator. The slice operator basically uses a colon. So suppose I want to extract elements from 2 to 4. So what I'm going to do is I can write print T from 2 to 4. So we write 2 colon 5. One more you need to write because that's the habit. So the first index colon, that means 2, last index minus 1. So that's the general syntax of accessing a group of elements. So what will happen is this particular slice operator, this is a slice operator because of the presence of the colon, is going to extract, or in other words, is going to return a tuple containing elements from index 2 till 4. So it's going to return inside index 2 we had 3, inside index 3 we had 3, and inside index 4 we had 2. So this is what it is going to return. So this happens with the slice operator. Now there is also something more interesting about slice operator. When I write print T, say I do not give the start index. I simply write colon 4. So the start index is missing out here. I write this. So what it is going to do is it's going to display all the elements at the previous indices other than 4. That means it's going to display the elements as 0, 1, 2, 3 subscripts. So it's going to return a tuple containing 1, 2, 3 and 3. So these are all the elements before the fourth index. So this is what happens when we use a slice operator with the missing start index. Similarly, if we have the start index and without the last index, it's going to print all the elements starting from the start index till the end, since I did not mention or specify the last index. So this is the general habit. So I'll give you an example. Print T, suppose from 2 till the end. So we write 2 colon and leave it. So start index and end index I did not write. So what it's going to do is it's going to display all the elements starting from index 2. That is 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. So it's going to display the tuple 3, 3, 2, 2 and 1. So this is what happens with the slice operator. Now one more thing, finding the frequency of an element in a tuple. So what we do is, suppose I want to count how many times the element 2 is present in the tuple. So what we write is, we simply write T, where T is the name of the tuple, dot count. T dot count, simply write 2. Now what this is going to do is, it's going to return the frequency of the element 2 inside the tuple T. So it's going to return 3. That is the frequency of 2. Now let me talk about one more operator called in. The in operator. The in operator is used to check for the presence of a value or element inside a tuple. So if I write if 2 in T, if I write that, is this particular if statement is going to return true because 2 is present in the tuple. Similarly, if I write if 5 in T, since 5 isn't present, it's going to return false. So this particular if statement is going to result as false statement. Now there is also a combination of in, that is writing not in. So if 5 not in T, so this is checking whether the element or value 5 is not present in the tuple T or not. So this is the function of the in operator. So in operator is simply going to check whether this particular value or element is present in the tuple or not. Now just one last thing, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you how to traverse through each element in a tuple. Traversal means accessing each of the individual elements inside the tuple, obviously one at a time. So look at this program, it's very easy. For I in T, that means for each of the items or values in T, it's going to display I. That means it's going to display the first element. And since it is an iterative structure, it is automatically iterate to the next element. So obviously the output will be 1, the next element will be 2. Again, it is going to iterate to the third element. It will display 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. What is important out here is, this is the method of accessing each of the individual elements inside a tuple. Now, we may also use the index or the subscript for accessing each of these individual elements. Now, look at this example. For I in range 0, len of T. I am using the inbuilt function len. Now, length is going to give you the length, that is in the sense that it's going to give you the total number of elements that are present in this particular tuple. So you can see there are 7 elements present over there. So the range starting from 0 till 7, that means from 0 till 6. It is always 1 less than the total number of the last index, whatever you give over here. So it will run from 0 till 6, although the value of len is 7. And here, this time, what I'm going to write is, I'm going to write print T of I, where I represents the index. You see, first time the value of I will be 0, obviously. So T of 0 is going to print 1. So the same output 1. Next time the value of I will be 1. So t of 1, it's going to print 2. Next time the value of I will be 2, it's going to print t of 2, that is 3. So that is how each of these individual elements can also be accessed using the index or subscript of the tuple. So either you can use this method or you can use this method. Using this method is it's going to make things much more flexible, because you'll be able to specify which particular element you want to access. Whereas in this method, it will always be in a sequence, that is first, and only after accessing the first element, it's going to access the second element, and only after that the third. Here I can always access any element because I am using the subscript, where the subscript always starts from 0, from left to right. Now getting back to the problem, what we are going to do out here is we are going to find the frequency of each element inside the tuple. So that means I'm going to count how many times 1 is there. After that, I'm going to count how many times 2 is there. After that, I'm going to count how many times 3 is there. After that, nothing, because those are the total number of unique elements inside the tuple T. I should be counting only for 1, 2 and 3, not the remaining elements, because the remaining elements frequency has already been found when we found the frequency of 1, 2 and 3. So here, first of all, I will use a wrong approach, and then we'll go on to modify that particular approach to make the program give us the correct output. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use this approach. For each of the element inside the tuple, that is, it is going to access each of the individual elements. Say I'm going to use a variable, say C, where I'm going to find the frequency. So t dot count I, and here I'm going to print the frequency. Print I, exactly the same way. Frequency is C. Now look at this approach. What I have done is, I am taking each individual element or value from the table and counting how many times it is present inside the tuple. And then I am displaying the value or element of the tuple along with its frequency. Now see what is the resultant. So the value of I will be I in tuple, so the value of I will be 1 for the first time. So C equal to t dot count 1. So it's going to find the frequency of the element 1 inside the tuple. So 1 is present twice. So the value of C will be 2 for the first case, because the value 1 is present twice. So print I. So the first output what we are going to get is 1, frequency 2. I is the element and C is the frequency. 1 is occurring twice. Next time the value of I will be 2, and this time the frequency of I, that is 2, is how many times? 3. So the value of C will be 3. So print I is going to print 2, that is the next element, along with this frequency. So frequency is going to print 3. Next time the value of I will be 3, and this time the frequency is going to print 2, because that's the frequency of 3. Now from here onwards the error occurs. Next time the next element is 3 once again. So again it's going to print the frequency. Although it's going to print the correct frequency, but don't you think it is quite obvious that I have already found the frequency of this particular element inside the tuple, and I don't need to further find its frequency. Similarly, when I get the next 2, again it's going to find the frequency, although it will be correct, but once again the output isn't what is required over there. That is the frequency of each of the individual elements. Out here, every number will be displayed along with this frequency. So that means if it is repeated thrice, it's going to show 3 times the number's frequency, although the frequency will be shown correctly. So what will be the approach is, the approach will be, if I have already found the frequency of an element or a number in this case inside the tuple, then further I am not going to find its frequency. So this will be the approach. If I have already found the frequency of a number, I am not going to find the frequency of that number. Now the question arises, how do I understand whether I have already found the frequency of that particular number or not? Now listen to me carefully. If the number exists before the current position, That means I've already found the frequency of that number. What do I mean by that? Say for example 1. Is there a presence of 1 before this index? Obviously, since this is the first element, there isn't. So I'm going to find the frequency of 1. Next comes 2. Is there a presence of this element 2 before this index? That is 1. No, there isn't any presence of the number 2 before it. So that means I got 2 for the first time and therefore I find the frequency. Next I get 3. Is the element 3 present before it? No. So I got 3 for the first time. I'm going to find its frequency. Next again I get 3. Is the element 3 present? Yes, obviously 3 is present out there. So therefore I will not find its frequency because I have already found its frequency previously. Similarly, when it comes to 2, again the number 2 occurs previous to this particular position. Since I have already found its frequency, I am not going to find its frequency. 2, again the element 2 is already present, so I am not going to find its frequency. 1, again the element 1 is present before it, so therefore I am not going to find its frequency because I have already found its frequency before. So that means, in other words, when I get the element for the first time, that means its presence when it occurs inside the tuple for the first time, only then I am going to find its frequency. Any subsequent occurrence, we are going to leave it. So this should be the approach of finding the frequency of each of the elements inside the tuple. Now let's see how do we do that. Now look at this approach. We'll begin from here. For I in range 0 till n of t. So obviously the value of I will be initially 0. If t of I not in t colon I. That means t of I, what is t of I? T of I is obviously 1. If it is not present in t colon I, what I am doing is I am using the slice operator and I am checking whether the element 1 is present before the current index or not. That is colon 0. That means all element before the 0th index. Obviously it isn't there because there is no element at all. So in that case, what am I doing? From that current position, that is I, where I is 0, from the 0th index till the end, I am counting how many times t of I, that is 1, is present over here. So in that case, the value of c will be 2 because 1 is occurring twice. So print t of I, frequency c. So it's going to print t of I, that is t of 0. It's going to print 1 and along with this frequency, that is 2. Now, what is the next value of I? I will be 1. Now look at this. T of I, what is T of I this time? T of I is 2. If it is not in T colon I, what is T colon I? T colon I, that is T colon 1. That means all the elements inside the tuple which is present before the index 1, that is this particular area. So is the element 2 present before this particular index? Obviously not. So therefore C equal to, what am I doing? Among the remaining indexes, that is among the elements after this index 1, that is T1 colon, that is from 1 till the last index 6. What am I doing? I am counting how many times T of I, that is T of I is 2, 2 is present. So 2 is present thrice. So it's going to print 2, frequency is 3. Next time the value of I will be 2. So when the value of I is 2, the next element T of I will be 3. Here I am checking whether it is not present before it or not. Before the current position, that is before the position 2. So before the position 2, the element 3 isn't present. So since it is not present, from that index till the end, I am checking how many times the element 3 is present. So 3 is occurring twice, so it's going to display 3 frequency 2. Now look at this approach. The next value of I will be 3. So the next value of I is 3. Now inside T of I, that means inside T of 3, we have the element 3 present over there. So what I have done is, I have written over here, if T of 3 not in T before the index 3. Now look at this element 3. Is this 3 present before the index 3? That is before this. Since 3 is present before it, here you can see. So what I am doing? I am not going to find its frequency because I have written if it is not in this. So since it is in the tuple before that particular index, it's not going to find its frequency. Next time the value of I will be 4 and the next element will be 2. Now what have I done? If it is not present before this index 4, now since 2 is present before this, I am not going to find its frequency. Similarly, the index 5, the number at index 5 is 2. Again I am checking whether it is present before the 5th index. Once again, it is present, it occurs previous to it year and year. So therefore, once again I am not going to find this frequency. The next number is 1 and I am going to check whether it is present before that 6th index, that is out here, this entire position. And since 1 is present over here, once again, I am not going to find this frequency. So therefore, this is the method of removing the duplicates which might occur while finding the frequency of each of the individual elements inside a tuple without any duplicate value occurring.